When you start to build applications that can read and write data to the blockchain, some common questions that you may have could be, how do I display the state of a smart contract storage to users of my application? How do I show users of my application their account history or their wallet history or their transaction history based on their wallet address? How can we build complex event-driven systems using data from the chain? And how can we track ownership changes in an NFT marketplace? All of these problems are solved by indexers. Now, what are indexers? Indexers act as some form of a search engine, allowing us to sort through data that is stored on the blockchain and making them easy to work with. Indexers sometimes use a complex technology stack, and they may use things like queues, they may use things like database systems, and they may use things like caching to improve the user experience of reading and writing data to and from the blockchain. In this tutorial, we'll cover how to use the TzKT Indexer API to read data from the blockchain. We'll be able to fetch users' wallet balances. We'll be able to fetch their wallet history as well, so we can see their transaction history. And we'll also be able to look up smart contract storage on the blockchain. We'll be using Postman, which is a tool that allows you to make API requests to any endpoint of your choice. The first step is to install Postman. So once you have Postman installed, the next step is for us to go to the TzKT API docs. And to get to the TzKT API docs, simply navigate to tzkt.io in your browser. Once that is open, click on API, and it's going to load up the TzKT API documentation. We're going to be exploring these docs using Postman, and we're going to be making requests to the endpoints provided by TzKT in their documentation. Since we'll be making use of TzKT in test mode or using the ghostnet, we can actually use the ghostnet documentation, which is located right here. So as you can see, this is ghostnet. And if we click view docs, it's going to take us to the TzKT ghostnet documentation. Okay, so now that we're in the TzKT API docs, the first thing that we want to do is we want to be able to fetch a user's wallet balance to see exactly how much they've got left in their wallet. And we can use this within our dApps or within our front-end applications to show users their wallet balance in a more intuitive way to improve their own user experience. Now, to get into this, simply go to the TzKT ghostnet documentation, which we already have open here. Come to REST API. Under REST API, click on Get Balance. And now when you click on Get Balance, you're going to have this interface, and to your very right, you'd be able to see the endpoint that you can call. And you simply just need to copy this. As you can see here, we will need to change this address to be the actual address of the account that we want to see the balance for. So let's come out of here, head over to Postman. Now that we've got Postman open, simply paste the URL. I'm going to pull up my wallet address here. So I'm going to switch this out, and I'm just going to paste my wallet address. And when I hit the send button, as you can see, it displays my wallet balance. Now, you need to remember that this number is written in mutez. So mutez is the smallest unit of Tez or Tez tokens. Now, if you divide this by 10 to the power of 6, which is a million, you're going to get the actual value in Tez. Now, let's look at the next endpoint. So the next endpoint that we want to see is we want to be able to retrieve a user's transaction history or a user's wallet history. So assuming that we had a dApp or we had a front-end application, and we wanted users to be able to see the transactions that they've completed on the chain, once they have their wallet link, we could simply fetch their transaction history from the blockchain using or relying on the TzKT indexer. Still within the REST API and the accounts, we want to go into Get Balance History. So come to Get Balance History, and here on the right, simply click the drop down and copy this. Go back to Postman, paste in the endpoint, and again, I'm going to change the wallet address here. Hit the send button. And once you hit the send button, you can actually see transactions that have been completed on this wallet. So you can see that here my balance was 50 Tez. So if you divide this by a million or 10 raised to the power 6, you would see that this is 50 Tez. And you can see when this transaction was made. It was made in October. You can see some transactions made in November as well. And this level refers to the height level of the block that we're currently querying. And with this information here, you can start to build a good user experience for users of your application and making the front end of your application more intuitive so that when users come, they can actually see their transaction history, and it's in a very structured manner for them to read. The last endpoint that we're going to demo in this tutorial is how to read a smart contract storage using TzKT's indexing APIs. And before we get into that, I'm actually going to pull up a smart contract that we've built in a previous tutorial here. Now, if you look at our smart contracts, we can see that this is a smart contract that allows users of your application to vote for their favorite footballers. And as you can see here, we've got 5 players and only Kylian Mbappe has got a vote here. And we can also see that we have some voters' wallet addresses as well. Now, what we can do is we can actually get this same information by using the indexer. So I'm simply going to go back to the documentation one more time. Let's close up the accounts drop down, and we're going to go to contracts. And we're going to go to, we want the contract storage. So we're going to go to get contract storage. We're going to copy the URL here. We're going to go back to our Postman. And within our Postman, we're simply going to paste in the smart contract address. So I'm going to come back here to copy the smart contract address. Head back to Postman, paste the address, hit your send button, and as you can see, it gives us a JSON object of our smart contract storage. As you can see again, our player 3 still has 1 vote. And we also have our voters' wallet addresses, just like we've seen from the smart contracts indexer. Indexers also allow us to make post requests to entry points of smart contracts. In a future tutorial, we'll go through how to use an indexer's APIs to write a fully functional dApp without using a JavaScript library like TzKT.